Whoever makes it all the way through SHTF and never fires a shot wins. That's what we should all be shooting for, right, guys? Pun intended. But is it realistic? Can you see yourself there? I know there's some people that are blessed financially and they can go build a bunker in their backyard and stockpile it with 20 years worth of food, water, and fuel and all that crap. And they might make it. They might get through the whole thing without firing a single shot. But I'll tell you what, if you stuck me in a damn bunker for 10 years, man, I'd be, you know what I'm saying? Partway through it, I just couldn't do it. I can't live like that. So for me personally, I've done everything I can to put myself in a remote place where my chances of having to fire off shots to get shit done just are minimal. I've got food, I've got water, I've got livestock. I don't want to hunt unless I have to. I don't want to risk someone hearing that report. I don't want to deal with bad guys on the road unless I have to. You know what I'm saying? You want to try to avoid that shit. That's how you're going to live a long life after the end of the world as we know it. But it's just not realistic, right? So we need to prep for what's realistic. And I'm here to tell you guys that the first shot in any situation, whether it be defensive or hunting, in SHTF is critical. It's critical. And not just the first shot, not just whoever rips one off, but whoever puts that first bullet where it needs to go. And we're going to talk about that today. And let's make it a discussion, guys, all right? You might as well like the video because those of you that are familiar with the channel, you know that this is going to be a very objective look at this, and I'm going to share my perspective, which is going to make a good argument, so like it. And guys, I could use your help with the algorithm as well, so please comment. I feel like this platform is nerfing me. When I first launched this channel, I had hardly any subscribers and got way, way, way more views than I'm getting now. And now I can launch videos and I'm getting hardly any views. So, comments, do what you can, share it, all that kind of stuff. Let's hit up the 80-20 rule real quick because a lot of people don't understand what that is. And it's very important on this channel. The 80-20 rule is that 20% of what we do produces 80% of the results. Let me give you guys a quick example because I could take any task and I can break it down to the 80-20. Let's say you have a kitchen and a dining room with linoleum on the floor and you have to sweep it every once in a while. Well, doing the 20% that produces 80% of the results is sweeping around the carpet in the kitchen, sweeping it all into the entryway to the dining room, not moving all the chairs out, just kind of getting underneath them, getting it real quick, sweeping it up, boom, you're done. You just did 20% that produced 80% of the results. And to remove all those chairs, to take that carpet, that let's say you have a throw rug right in front of the sink in the kitchen, to take that outside and bang it off and sweep underneath it and do all that, and to get it in every little tiny corner, that's the 80% that produces 20% of the results. Okay, so we focus on this here on this channel. And the first shot in any situation and shit at the fan is the 20% that's going to produce 80% of the results. The importance of this first shot really started to hit me when I was hunting, guys. And it's kind of funny that it didn't hit me in the Army. I was airborne infantry, and when you're in the service, they basically equip you with a weapon system. It's set up the way they want it set up, not the way you want it set up. And so you're basically stuck with it. I can't change out my upper for a smaller barrel or a longer barrel for that matter. It is what it is. And then you train on static targets, pop-up targets, moving targets, troops in the open at range, live fires, and a shit ton of CQB. And you just basically do your best to be as fast and effective with that weapon system as possible. But in the hunting world, it's about real results all the time. And I would often get out there with my homeboys hunting like cottontails and whatever with shotguns. Traditional shotguns, you know, 26, 28-inch barrel, that kind of shit. I was almost always beating these guys at the shot. So frustrating for them, but not for me, right? But I discovered that going to a shorter length barrel and going to a shotgun with a smaller capacity gave me a lighter shotgun. I also discovered that going to 20 gauge as opposed to 12 gauge also gave me a lighter shotgun, and I could get on the shot even faster Because what happens when you do a lot of hunting is you miss shots. There's some shots you just can't get there in time and you miss them. But if you can do anything to help you get there faster and to make that shot, now all of a sudden you're feeding your family. So think about this and shit hit the fan, guys. Let's say you've had a hard couple of months and your family is freaking starving and you get a shot on a certain animal, but you were too slow to get there. And now think about the fact that you're malnourished, stressed the fuck out, and weak. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you going to get it done? You're less likely to get it done then than you are now. I've also missed a lot of shots on big game animals over the course of my life because I had my hunting rifle set up in a traditional way. And it was like time to get my optics on that animal, and I had, too much magnification on the scope or whatever it was. Whatever was slowing me down and in trying to get that shot. By the time I found that animal, it was gone. Or I didn't find the animal because it was gone. It went over a rim, it went behind some cover, whatever. And now you're burning up additional calories trying to get a second shot on that same animal. And that is not in your best interest, and shit hit the fan, guys. Calories matter. So what we really want to do is we want to have our stuff set up so we can get on target rapidly and make a quick, effective hit as fast as possible. Let's go through a defensive scenario real quick to help illustrate my point. Let's say that the SHTF has completely gone down and you're rocking this sick-ass AR-15 build and you got this big old freaking aluminum foregrip on it, right, with like a freaking IR beam and a flashlight and pop-up sights, 16-inch barrel. You got a big 1x8 LPVO on top of it, double mags, right? So 230 rounders in it. And you didn't listen to me, so you're not prepped. You don't have 2 years worth of stored food and water. And you're in a situation where you got to go on what may very well be the last shopping trip you ever make. Well, you get to the supermarket, you get in there, and the place is pretty damn empty, but there's a few people still in the store that are like scrounging up whatever's left. You can smell piss because people have been pissing in the corners, and there's just trash all over the floor. And you come around the corner, you're looking down this aisle, and at the end of the aisle, you see a guy that's known for being a bad dude around town. And guess what he's rocking? He has an AR-15, just like you, except it's got some light Magpul stock on it. He's got an 11.5-inch barrel with a tiny little plastic freaking grip up front. And he's rocking a 2.6-ounce Crimson Trace red dot on top. And he has a 20-round mag in it. Who's going to beat who to the first shot? Let's say that you guys have the same abilities. He's just as fast as you, just as strong as you, and just as trained as you are. Who's going to get the first shot off? Who's going to die? That's right. You're going to die because you have some fancy-ass, tricked-out AR with all this shit on it that weighs it down. So one of the things I want to do, guys, is I want to challenge you. Every single thing you put on a firearm, I want you to ask yourself, one, does it fit the intended use for that firearm? What are you going to use that firearm for? Does it fit the intended use? And the second thing you need to ask yourself is it part of the 20% that produces 80% of the results when it comes to equipment? That's it. Just ask yourself those two questions. Be honest with the answers. Not like, oh, I like my flashlight. Like, I really like it. You can like your flashlight. That's fine. You can like it. But is it really part of the 20% that's going to produce 80% of the results for you? Maybe if you're running around at night, right? Is this a home defense AR? Is that what it's for? In case you have to leave your front door and deal with people at the front gate, which you shouldn't do to begin with. You shouldn't do that. Stay in your house. Let them rob your shit. You know? Don't put yourself at risk by leaving the front door. You should wait in sight for them to try to get in. That's what you should be doing. Would a flashlight help you in that situation? Yes, it would. Okay? So if that's what that AR is being set up for, then yeah, that makes sense. But a lot of dudes these days are just kidding out their shit, and they feel that they need to have all this fancy stuff on their rifles because it's what's cool. I'm going to use it 5% of the time, so it makes sense to hump all that weight around and be that much slower on the draw. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, guys. Ditch that shit. I'm telling you right now. Get rid of all that fancy ass shit unless it's actually going to be part of the 20% that's going to produce 80% of the results. Do you have night vision? Are you planning on operating only at night? What kind of terrain are you in? Because if you are, well, maybe putting an IR beam on the front of your freaking setup, maybe it makes sense. I don't remember what the hell they're called anymore. I think we called them Pack 4s back when I was in the Army. But you guys can tell I don't feel the need to have one on my firearms. I don't. Or I know what the hell people are calling them these days. I don't think it's part of the 20% that's going to produce the 80% of results for me where I am. It might be where you are. Are you going to have to deal with a lot of people? Are you going to be constantly dealing with defensive situations? If you are, move. If you are, move. I'll tell you that. And if you've moved already and you're like me, then no, I don't think you're going to find it to be all that important. Multi-purpose firearms, obviously, there's a little bit of a difference there. They're going to fill more roles. And so I feel like they're likely to have some heavier components. But you should be going with a lightweight platform to begin with. I think that's super important, guys. You want to be the first one on the shot. Now, I'm not telling you to go with an extremely lightweight tool to get the job done. Those of you that have done any kind of shooting for any number of years, you know that there are handguns and rifles out there that are just too light. And what happens then is it's just kind of hard to hold it steady enough because there's not enough weight behind it. So a lot of this is going to depend on your own physical abilities. Like, how strong are you? How fast are you? How old are you? A 7-pound rifle to one dude is a 9-pound rifle to another dude. That's just how it is. So you really have to get your hands on a number of different things, play with it, play with your own stuff. And guys, think about the 80-20 rule, man. Go over your firearms and remove most of that shit that's not part of the freaking 20% that produces 80% of the results and play with it. See where you're at. Get a shot timer. Start timing yourself. See how things change with a lighter weapon that can get the same job done based on the specifics of what that tool needs to accomplish for you. Is a tenth of a second going to make a difference in an actual gunfight? I'm willing to say that yes, it will. I think I'm going to leave it right there, dudes. It doesn't need to be any longer than this. It's a pretty simple concept to grasp. The idea is that in SHTF, whether it's a defensive or hunting situation, you don't want to miss opportunities. And you don't want to be the second guy to get around on target. You don't want to be that. You want to be the guy that beats the other people to the punch. You want to be the guy that takes that deer before it goes around behind that cover and you miss it and your family starves to death. That's the name of the game and shit hit the fan. It's not fancy stuff on the front of your gun. That's not the name of the game. Okay? So lighten your load, train, and do what you can to make sure you can get that first shot on target effectively. All right, pimps, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. Check out my Patreon, link in the description. I have a lot more content on my Patreon, and I answer their questions all the time and do videos for them and stuff like that. So check it out. I'll see you on the next video.